Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and if you notice, it looks like I'm a teenager with a lot of zits. It's because I went to the dermatologist the other day, and he was looking for pre-cancerous spots on my body, and then he freezes it with, I think it's called liquid nitrogen, and kills those spots, and but always leaves a little bit of a scab. So what we're doing here, in fact, I'm just going to stop out here in the middle of this. This is just for fun. This road, if we look down this way and we look up that way, this is running east and west, and they're widening it to, I got to get out of this guy's way. They're widening it to 4 lanes. Okay? And that's because it's going to be the entrance and exit from our freeway out that direction over there, and so then people can get on the freeway from this part of the countryside. And so that's what they're doing here. In the meantime, over here where we're headed, they're building new homes. This used to be, a long time ago, this used to be, well, you know, a couple years ago, it used to be all fields of hay. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. There's more people looking for houses than there are houses available. And so they're building houses left and right. So we're going to go this way. I've never gone this way before. And I'll start telling you some stories. First of all, the report on the on the flat tire. See, I had a whole lot of slime in that tire, and so okay, let's just start over. Okay, I ran across a road. I went along a dirt path that had goat heads, and I knew it had goat heads, or I didn't know, but it looked to me like it had goat heads in the little weeds I was going over. But I didn't do what you're supposed to do. Number one, whenever you go over, you think you got goat heads in your tires, stop and pull them out. Inspect your tires and pull out the goat heads. Don't keep going. But that's what I did, and I've seen videos on that. And so that's what I just kept going, because I was in a hurry to make a video. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I drove about 2 more, or I rode about 2 more miles, and then got home and parked it. And then when I came out out of the house and looked at my bike, my trike, it was bleeding slime. Now I don't know if you understand, but see, the slime is supposed to plug up the holes, and but as I kept riding, it kept the holes kept getting more and more bigger where the goat heads were. And then so I parked it at home, and the slime was coming through the holes trying to plug it up, but it wasn't plugging up, and then finally the tire went flat. But in the meantime, it was bleeding slime, just like if you know, your body pumps blood out when it gets cut. Well, that's what was going on, and so it just bled it. I should have taken a picture of it. Anyway. So you take out the goat heads. Now what I did was when I looked at the flat tire, I knew I had a goat head because I had gone over a bunch of weeds. So so I pulled 2 goat heads out of the flat tire, and then I inspected the other tires. The one on the left side didn't have any goat heads. This one had 15 goat heads in it of various sizes. And so, fortunately, I didn't get any punctures before I pulled out all the goat heads. So anyway, I got the tire, I got the inner tube replaced, and so we're out on a ride now. Okay, now let's get back to my life story. Kind of interesting story right now. We're talking about 1982 when I crashed my Harley, was in a hospital, got out. Everything was fine except for a couple weeks I had to walk with cane, and then finally was able to use with crutches, and finally was able to use my cane And I used it mostly a lot at first, and then off and on over a 7-year period. And I finally, after about 7 years, I didn't need to use the cane anymore. I still have it, and I use it from time to time. Okay, so that's that story. Now we're in 1982, and we're going to span the area from 1982 to 1986. Okay, now the pastor of the church had his pilot license, and he didn't have a plane. Him and a buddy found an old plane that had been sitting in the field at Kennewick Airport, which is no longer there. Had been sitting there for years, and it was an antique, and it had body damage to the fuselage. And so he and a buddy, they bought it, and they rebuilt the damage where the damage was. I got to go through a real narrow spot here, see if I can get through without running my camera into anything. It looks like I made it. Okay. Anyway, so they rebuilt it and got it flying, and then he traded that, because it was very valuable. He traded that for a Beechcraft Bonanza V-tail. Okay. And it was an old plane, but it was much nicer than the one that they rebuilt. So he got back into flying, and then because I had the commercial license that I had, it was legal for me to do a certain amount of work on the radios in his airplane, and so I'd go out to the airport, and most of it was poor wiring underneath of the instrument panel and stuff like that. Anyway, so in the meantime, remember, I'm walking with a cane, and I've got a sailboat, and it was no fun going out on a sailboat when you had to walk with a cane. So that kind of cut into it. And not only that, I was also, at this point in time, I was teaching a Sunday school class, and so I couldn't be gone on the weekends like I had before. And so I just wasn't using the sailboat like I had. So I decided, well, I'll put it up for sale. So I listed it in the Giant Nickel, and I had it on the trailer in my backyard, and people would come and look at it, and they really interested in it. They, get inside of it and everything. But then I'd never hear from them again. And I don't know, maybe, I don't think it was a half a dozen, but there was a lot of people that came and looked at it. But it never sold. And I lowered the price down to about 1/3 of what it cost originally. And so it was amazing to me that I couldn't sell that boat. Well, so anyway, so that's part of the story there. This was during that time between 1982 and 1986. So, get this thing to go up the hill. I've got to put it in next pedal assist here. There we go. All right. And so that I couldn't sell the boat. I figured nobody wanted it. And then as time went by, I helped the pastor with his airplane, and I can't remember. I think I got to go for a couple of rides and stuff like that. And one day, I was I came in to see him every morning almost. I'd go in to see how things were, what was up and everything. I go in, and we were talking about his plane, and he says, "You love airplanes. How come you never got into flying?" Now, if you remember, if you've been watching my videos, back when I graduated from high school, a guy from the Marines, when I was a senior, came and talked to us seniors and said if we would join the Marines, they could teach us how to fly. And I decided that's what I want to do. I was all excited. I went home, told my parents about it, and they said, they lied to me, okay? They said, "You'll never be able to fly an airplane because you have cavities." Now, I laugh because, get around the corner here. I laugh because what happened was when I was talking to the pastor, and I says, I can't. He asked me, how come you don't get into flying? And I said, well, because I can't fly a plane because I have cavities. If you've never seen anybody fall out of a chair, you should have been there that day. He almost fell out of his chair laughing because I couldn't fly a plane because I had cavities. Well, anyway, so I didn't know, and when I was a kid, I just believed my parents. So then he says, well, are you, interested in flying and all that kind of stuff? And I said, yeah, I just never knew I could. And so he said, what he was doing, since he got all excited about flying when he got his plane, he made a deal with the FBO over at the Kennewick Airport. That's a fixed base operator. That's like the office at the airport. And they have a guy come over to the church multi-purpose room, once a week or something, and teach ground school, because you have to pass the test from ground school before you can take flight lessons. And so he had started that up, and he said, why don't you go to ground school? And I says, well, there's no way that I can afford an airplane, and because, on my salary, there's no way I can do it. And he said, well, you got that boat you're trying to sell. And I said, yeah, I know, but, and he said, and you can finance your house. Yeah, I know. And by the way, my brother, when he got out of the service, he used his money that they gave him to get his pilot license. A couple years before that, he had come over on his cross-country overnight flight to stay at my house. He flew from Boeing Field over to Pasco and stayed all night, showed me his the airplane he was flying, and all of his plans and his chart work and all that kind of stuff. And of course, back then I wasn't interested, but he showed me all that. And then, but only thing is, he didn't buy a plane. So he was, every time he went up, he had to rent the plane. He had to be, if he waited too long, he had to be checked out again. That's another expense, renting the plane. And it looks like this is, well, might turn up here. Anyway, so there was this expense for renting the plane. So he didn't hardly do any flying after he got his license. So that morning that the pastor was talking to him, and he says, you get a plane, and that way you don't have to rent one. And I said, there's no way I can get a plane. And he gave me some suggestions. And so I went home and was telling my wife about it, because over at the Kennewick Airport also, there was a Cessna 150 for sale for $5,000. And I had paid $8,000 for my boat. And so my wife, I love her. She's so special. She says, well, why don't you see if he wants to trade for a boat? And I said, nobody wants to trade an airplane for a boat. Okay? And she said, how much will it cost to call and find out? And so I said, oh, okay. So next day I went to work, and when I had some time, I called the number, and this guy answered, and I said, the guy that was selling the airplane, and I said, would you trade for a sailboat? And he said, where can I see the sailboat? You know what? I'm running out of time. I think I'm going to have to save the rest of this story till my next video. I know you're going to hate me for that, but it's getting longer than I'd like them to go. So, yes, I did get into flying, but in the next video, I'll tell you how it all came about. So I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.